Hey everybody, welcome.
Welcome
to another episode of 10X Owners Live.
We are here to help business owners scale and grow.
Last year, I made $300,000.
And what did I tell you you're going to do this year?
$1 million.
Can't speak highly enough about him.
I love what you're saying, by the way. I've been taking some notes.
This is a great call tonight.
Brandon, what makes you qualified to be hosting a show called 10X Owners Live on a Tuesday night full of business owners?
I've been building and selling businesses for the past 25 years. As one of the youngest people to ever ring the opening bell of the American Stock Exchange, and then selling my last business for $151 million, 77 times EBITDA to a $1 billion company, I partnered with Grant Cardone.
I love Brandon. Big hand for Brandon.
And we've created a business in 36 months using the exact principles we teach.
And every Tuesday night, the Cardone Ventures team comes on here to 10X Owners Live to help you. Grab your pen, paper, and get ready to take notes. This is your night, your chance to ask quality questions, to 10X your business, to achieve your personal, professional, and financial goals.
It's time to 10X.
This is 10X Owners Live.
Advantage.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to 10X Owners Live. My name is Sean Conrad, part of the executive team here at Cardone Ventures, EVP of Professional Services. It is great to see all of those smiling faces. If you don't have your camera turned on, please do so. We'd love to see you. This is one of my favorite shows that we do every week. This is our chance to connect with all of you, the business owners that we love, that we serve. And we have a great show for you tonight and a great and very important topic. Let me take you back to a quick recap of last week's show. Last week, we framed why 2/3 of businesses fail within the first 5 years. Imagine that. That is an amazing statistic to me. I don't want anybody on this call to be a statistic. You are all overachievers. You're here to 10X to succeed. We're going to equip you to do that. Well, what's interesting about that stat, 2/3 fail within the first 3 breakpoints. And as a reminder, that's 100,000 in revenue up to 15 million in revenue, what we define as the top of breakpoint 3. Now, that does not have to be the story for any of you. You are all equipped because of the information you're getting here from our Cardone Ventures community to succeed and outperform all of your peers. This week, we're going to give you some of the secrets as to how you actually do that, and that's the 4 M's. Ashley talked about that in our show opening tonight. We're going to revisit those, how and when to use them strategically in your business so that you can grow and scale exactly how Grant Cardone and Brandon Dawson have done that. Now, let's get into this topic of the 4 M's. First, let me frame what they are, and then we'll get into how we're actually going to apply them. We actually have a worksheet and an exercise we're going to go through today. So first, the 4 M's: model, mimic, master, and multiply. I want you to keep those in your mind as we go through the show tonight. If you're taking notes, just make sure you note those words: model, mimic, master, multiply. Put them in the chat. Let us know that you're following along. And let's get into this topic now. Building, growing, and scaling businesses is not an event. It is a journey. Brandon, Grant, they have mastered this part of the process. And if you look at a lot of big businesses and successful enterprises, they are masters at this, and it's really a systems mastery. And we're going to teach you some of that today. The only way to grow your business and to do this the same way Grant and Brandon have done is by learning from those that are playing at the highest level. Now, many of you know Brandon's story and why he decided to partner with Grant Cardone. And this was part of Brandon's mastery of this concept is, how do you take someone who's done something you want to model, mimic, master, and then multiply? Brandon wanted to take his expertise and scale it across multiple industries. And his brilliance in partnering with Grant was learning from someone who had already mastered this part of the business cycle. You all have the opportunity to do that with us as well. So not only do you need that, but you need a true understanding of what is necessary to have in place to set you apart from the rest and allow you to scale to new heights. So I want to give you some stats before we really get going here. 2/3 of all businesses fail within the first 5 years. We talked about that in the opening. There are 31.5 million small and mid-sized businesses in America. Now, this is what's interesting. 25 million of them have only one employee, the business owner, which means they haven't perfected this model, mimic, master, or the multiply component that we'll get into later, adding people to the equation. 5.3 million have only 2 to 11 employees. And many of you may be in that situation now and looking to expand the size of your company. And only 600,000 of those 31.5 million have 12 or more employees. So if you want to scale and grow the right way, you need to make sure that you're looking at how can you get past your current revenue point And the only way to do that and ensure growth and not contracting. And that's really important in this current macroeconomic environment that we're in. So today I want to show you one of the algorithms that we've created here at Cardone Ventures on how to do this, and this all hinges on the 4 M's. So let's put in the chat and the QR code for the worksheet for our exercise tonight. This is going to be the 4 M's, how and when to use them. We're also going to put a link in the chat just in case you can't scan the QR code. I think our team has done that. There we go in the chat. So everybody, please open this document up, and I want to walk through a couple of key points. So as we go over this worksheet, again, model, mimic, master, multiply. After studying and researching thousands of businesses and reverse engineering over 4,000 different industries, we found there are more commonalities than not. Through this research, we've seen that there are natural breakpoints that every business goes through, and these are regardless of industry. They're really dictated by the annual revenue of those companies. So just as if you're going to build a big skyscraper or a multi-story house, you want to make sure that you have the right framework, the foundational elements in place that are going to support the rest of that house and the growth that you're going to stack on top of that as you move from breakpoint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and beyond. Because what happens if you start to build on a foundation that is weak, you start to see cracks in that foundation. In a lot of our events, you'll hear Brandon talk about this, and his analogy is building that beautiful dream house and adding the 2nd story and the 3rd story and the 4th story and the rooftop pool, and the structure collapsing on its own weight because the foundation wasn't set for that type of scaling and that type of growth. That's where this worksheet is going to become really important for us tonight. So let's dig into this a little bit and start to define what this is, because no matter what breakpoint you're in, you're going to find value in this. So first, let's look at the model component of this. And how do we define that first? The easiest way to try new strategies in your business and that you want to apply, let's say it's a new revenue stream you want to add, a new product offering you want to add, the first thing to do is look at what has worked in the business as a model. As we launch new programs and services at Cardone Ventures, we do this in a very disciplined manner. We look at what has worked, and then how do we take those learnings and replicate it into something new. So when to use that, I want all of you to think about when you might use that in your business. Are you thinking about a new product offering? Are you thinking about expanding into a new area? Think about what has worked. The operative word there is has. You have history of something that has worked successfully. So think about that. The next stage is to mimic. Once you've identified something that you can model, let's say it was a successful launch of a product, you can go back and look at what has worked well in that scenario. You've documented that process of creating that product, bringing it to marketplace, selling it, servicing the customer. You know what worked. That's where you start to look at what can we take from that experience and what can we mimic as we roll out the new product, the new service. That's the second phase, this second M that is so critical. As you work through and identifying that, what you're going to mimic, now it moves to mastery. This is where you've done this multiple times now. You start to get very, very good at this and develop a mastery of this process of model and mimic. This is where you can really start to create growth in your business as you do this more efficiently and faster and at greater scale as you add new products, services to your business. The 4th M is what really is going to set you apart, and this is where the elite really separate themselves from everyone else, and this is how you multiply. This is when you actually are taking that model, mimic, master process and multiplying it through people. You are adding fuel to your engine at this point using other people in your business that you've taught them the model, mimic, master formula, and you are now pushing out greater growth through that larger audience. So those are the 4 M's. I want you to think about, as you look through this worksheet, the when to use it column. This is something for you to work on your own and think about how you would apply this in your business. I'd love to see some comments in the chat too about when you would use this. Are you thinking about this now? I'd like to see any questions about how you might do this, and we can touch on those later in the call tonight. But this is a great worksheet for you to be thinking about when you would put these into action. Again, this is an algorithm that Brandon has mastered, Grant Cardone has mastered. If you look at the growth of both Grant and Brandon and what they have created, it all is built on this system. Brandon could not have scaled Cardone Ventures from an idea and a partnership in 2019 with no invested capital to what it is today and serving all of the great customers that we get to interact with without a mastery of this process. First, model. What has worked? Brandon's history was going back to prior businesses. He had a history of success and knew what worked, and then thought we can take learnings from that into the creation of Cardone Ventures. Mimic. Identifying the first offering, the second offering for clients in this small and mid-sized business segment that we love to serve. The Essentials Workshops, the 10X 360s, the platform process, the SBU, everything all of you have experienced or will get to experience with us, that is the mimic component of this. It also led to mastery because Brandon's past history, all of those successes in prior businesses, creating Cardone Ventures, growing it quickly, was an example of mastery. How do you roll out products and services at a rapid rate and then multiply? How do you create a large team to execute on that plan, to take a vision that everyone can see their future within and contributing towards and multiplying through people? If you look at the growth of this company from 0 to over 180 employees today, that rapid expansion is what Brandon talks about with scaling. And it's a proven system, and it's just an indication of the ability to master something in this multiply phase. So think about this in your own businesses, and I'd love to see some comments or questions in the chat. The other thing I'd love to see in the chat, for all of you who are following along, I'd love to see a poll. Put a 1X in the chat if you're between 600,000 and 3 million in revenue. Put 2X in the chat if you're between 3 million and 8 million. And now I'd love to see a 3X if you're between 8 and 15 million. I see a lot of ones, twos. More than 80% of businesses in the US fail between the first 3 breakpoints. So what does that tell us? That tells us, again, this model, mimic, master, multiply formula is going to be really critical to get you past breakpoint 3, past 15 million, and really unlock the potential value in your business and ensure your 10X success. So keep those numbers coming. I see a couple of 15s in there. Way to go. We want to contribute to all of your successes. And if you're below 15 million, it should be an indicator for you that there's a lot of room for opportunity to expand. And I think for all of you right now on this call, you have an unfair competitive advantage in your marketplace because you are tapping into this community here and all of us at Cardone Ventures to give you information, strategy that other businesses of your size just don't have the opportunity to tap into. And as we enter a challenging economic environment with inflationary pressures, challenges with labor, supply chain shortages that seem to be persisting, you need strategies and you need an opportunity to lean in when your competition might be on their heels. So this is all a great part of what you get from being part of this community, and we want to help see you successful as quickly as we can and get past that $15 million breakpoint. We also are always developing new programs to ensure your success, and one of those that we're really excited about is our upcoming Arizona Business Boot Camp. And if our team can put the slide and the QR code in there for everybody. This is the first time we've done this on the West Coast. This is going to be a really, really big deal for all of you on this call. I would encourage you, hit that QR code, hit that link, get your ticket today. This is going to be more important now than ever before as you're looking for new tools to scale and grow in this environment. You need to learn from people who have mastered this and have been down a road you haven't been down before in your own business. Take advantage of the opportunity to learn from Brandon Dawson, to learn from Grant Cardone, to learn from our team about how to really 10X your success in this marketplace. And if you're ready to do that, we're going to tackle all of the topics you're going to need to master. It's developing teams, it's wealth creation. We're going to be teaching you about people, leadership, marketing, operations, scaling, and more. So be sure to scan that QR code. Get your tickets quickly. This is going to sell out. We have 2 levels of tickets available. Executive ticket at $497. I think all of you on this call really want a VIP experience. I would encourage you to tap into our VIP ticket option at $1997. We really want you to be in the room with us. Again, click the QR code, click the link, make sure you get your tickets today. This is going to be in Scottsdale, Arizona. We want to see all of you here, and we can't wait to see all of you in person and also hear about what is on your mind tonight. So with that, I'd like to open this up for questions, and We have a very active chat going, so love to unmute anybody that has a question, and we'll see what we can do to help you tonight. See a couple of hands raised. Why don't we go to Rebecca?
Hello.
Hi, Rebecca.
How's it going?
Good. Great to see you.
Good. Great to see you. So Jose and I, so we have Jump Contact. We do call answering. So I know that hiring is a little bit unique for us because our service is like we have to have 24-hour coverage. Last week we actually had a booth at an event. It was an amazing event for us. And now we have a different problem. So the problem is that we were able to sign up 32 new clients, which over the last 2 years, that's almost a third of our clients so far over the last 2 years. So it's an exciting problem to have, but we're trying to figure out, what comes first. So this week we're scrambling to have the onboarding meetings with these new clients that have paid and signed up, which is exciting. But then there's the problem of, we're going to have to get coverage. The other crazy thing is that it was actually like an agency trade show. So these 32 new clients have 350 pest control locations or 100, kitchen countertop locations or 15,000 realtors. That's kind of like, it freaks me out a little bit to think about that. But I just am not sure what comes next or what comes first, sort of.
Okay,
thing.
so great question, Rebecca. And thank you for going first tonight. I appreciate it. So congratulations on an unbelievable success at this show. This is an amazing story to tell in your business. Who doesn't want to work and partner with a business that has that successfully grown that quickly with new customers? That's an amazing story to tell. I'm hearing two parts to your question. One is a people challenge and one is an onboarding challenge. Am I correct?
Onboarding, I think that for this week, so we'll be able to start each location with single accounts, but I hope to be able to scale that very quickly. And so it will become an onboarding as well as a people problem that we'll have.
So let me tackle the people problem first, and then we'll talk about onboarding. So people, as you rapidly expand a business, you're going to need to multiply yourself through people to achieve your success. And that's the only way you're going to go from 32 new clients to 380 new clients to 3,000 new clients. So you have to multiply the business through people. Now, it's much, much easier to do that if you have the story that Rebecca has to tell potential employees. You can tell the story about we went from X to Y in this period of time. That is an exciting story to tell, particularly right now, because I'll tell you what's going to happen out in the economy, and many of you may be hearing this from people you're interviewing or talking to. Businesses contracting, sales slowing down, tough to find customers, laying people up. That's going to be happening more and more frequently. So if you're in a position leading a business that is growing rapidly, that is a strong story to tell, and you should lean into that to find the next 5 employees, 10 employees, 50 employees, 500 employees you're going to need to advance what you're doing. That to me is the priority. The onboarding side of it, I think it's a similar story. If you have people who are in a customer service type role, an account management type role, who are going to be responsible for that, their message to those clients who just signed on is equally as compelling. It's, you have joined one of the fastest growing companies in this space. We're going to take great care of you, ensure that you have success working with us. So the talk track is similar to both, but I think your people question is maybe the first priority, because as you scale and add new customers, you're going to need to backfill with people to help you multiply, not just to fulfill what you sold, but to help you find the next round of customers. Top line revenue, organic growth is going to be at a premium right now. One side comment on this too, particularly as if you look at what's happening in the capital markets and the cost of debt, for example, to fund the growth of a business, any business today, any industry that can demonstrate its ability to create pure organic revenue and increase organic revenue is at a premium. So if you are a private equity firm, you're going to pay a premium for a business that can prove that they can grow organically. And the cost of capital is just reached a point where it becomes very expensive to do mergers and acquisitions. So a lot of that activity could slow down or be shelved. And the emphasis is going to be on how can you drive organic growth in your business. So it's a great question, Rebecca. Thank you for sharing that with us. And please keep us posted on how that develops.
Yeah, very exciting. Thanks for the advice.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate it.
And why don't we go next to Carol? Can we get Carol unmuted?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I have a question about the process that you guys use within the organization of tracking income and expenses 15 minutes every day, those meetings. I'm starting to apply that. I'm in a new startup, and I understand it's Pearson's law. What you measure grows, what you measure and report grows exponentially. So from what I recall, the revenue of Cardone Ventures was $14 million the first year, surpassed the goal of $35 million, went to 39 or 40 the second year, then has come to 75 in the third year and is projected for 100 in the fourth year. Is that correct? Would you speak into that?
Carol, you are great. And thank you for retaining all those stats. And you are correct. And it's a great question too. And I want to thank you for bringing that up. And it really is what matters should be measured. And that's something that I think we do particularly well as a company. It's also something that all of you can take and apply in your own businesses. And it's something that I've had past experience with as well in different organizations. But I think we as a team here at Cardone Ventures do this better than any environment I've been in. It's amazing how that focuses attention on what is important, and every department's responsible for contributing to that overall revenue target. So if you were to be part of internal meetings that we have on our daily all teams, and some of you participate in those over time when we invite guests in, you'll hear different departments report in on what's happening in terms of new sales, new products, revenue targets, and we make that a very, very transparent part of our process. So I would encourage all of you to implement that in your own businesses. It's really amazing, if you really, first as a leader, map out the vision of what you're trying to accomplish, where you're trying to go. We talk about PPF goals a lot with all of you on these Owners Live calls, personal, professional, financial goals. If you can align your people, their personal, professional goals with the needs of the business and help grow the business through those people, you'd be amazed at the creativity that's unlocked, the productivity that's unlocked, and everyone knows they're in alignment and contributing towards that overall goal. That's how we've grown so quickly, and it's something that everybody here can implement too. So great question. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go next to Jason. Can we get Jason Manuel unmuted? And if we can't get Jason unmuted, let's go to Thomas Jenkins. Can we unmute Thomas?
Hey there, thank you for calling me. I had a similar question. I work with Rebecca. So I think you answered my question about, my question was, what do you focus on more when you're scaling from breakpoint 1 to breakpoint 2? And I believe Ashley talked about was people, and I think the other one was duplication, and you kind of hit on that. So I appreciate you calling on me. Unless you have anything else you want to add on top of that. But I thought that what you said to Rebecca was amazing.
Well, thank you for that feedback, Thomas, and I'm glad you're with us tonight. I think go back, keep referring back to this breakpoints worksheet that we gave you tonight. Keep referring back to this model, mimic, master, multiply concept. This is the difference maker between breakpoint 3 and 4 and beyond. Businesses will never get beyond 3 and 4 if they can't figure out the multiply piece of this. So just keep this in mind as you work through. And this is a great time of year for all of you to do this too. If you haven't finalized them, you're likely completing all of your 2023 planning in your businesses now. So think about where you want to go. Be intentional about if you're at breakpoint 3 this year, do you want to be at breakpoint 5 by the end of next year? And if so, what do you need to work on in terms of systems? What do you need to know? How skilled do you feel you are in this 4M's process? How can we help you propel that growth? Do you need to come to a business boot camp? You all should, by the way. Learn some of those skills, be around people who have done this at higher levels and played a bigger game. So it's a great question, Thomas, and thank you for asking that. Just stay connected to us, stay connected to this breakpoints scale and also this 4M's process.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's go next to Lindsay Lights. Lindsay, can we get you unmuted? Hi, Lindsay.
Hello.
How are you? What's your question?
I actually didn't have my hand raised. I was waving around, but I did have a question inside. We are at the model process. Originally, when you were giving your presentation, you asked kind of where we were in this and just trying to figure out what works or how we can get people to let us light up their lives. So recently, from coming to these meetings, I figured out that I should be like tracking how I'm interacting with these potential people and these leads. So I started keeping track of if they call or if they message, how they get in contact with us, whether they decide to go forward with an estimate, which we come and tell them how we can literally light up their lives with our all-inclusive Christmas light displays. And then I just track whether they say yes or no. And that's really where I'm starting. It's just in a Google Doc. I don't know if you have any suggestion on how to clean that up or to make it more efficient. So it's about to get really hot for Christmas light season. So that's where
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. I'm glad that you're here with us, and this is a great time of year to be asking this question. So if you're in the model phase, you've had successes, sales that have occurred. As you're tracking that, I would reverse engineer that and figure out what was the thing, or maybe it's 2 or 3 things that caused that buyer to say yes. And if you have any, again, contrast is important too when you're looking at processes. So what didn't work? And you can look at some of the no's and say, was it a price objection? Was it a timing issue? Was it a geographic issue? What was it that caused them to say no? Conversely, those that said yes, what was it about your service that made you stand out? Was it the way that I was greeted as a customer when I called in or inquired on your website? Was it the technical capability of your team? The way that vision you painted for me of what my house would look like once it's decorated? Was it pricing? Was it convenience?
Okay.
And remember that the pricing topic is important too, and we talk about this a lot. Pricing is only an issue in the absence of value. So Lindsay, let's say I inquire on your website and you tell me I can do it in 2 days. Here's the scheduling link. You make it easy for me. As a consumer, I may pay more for that than someone who makes it difficult to interact with you. You've removed friction from the process. So that could be a reason that people are saying yes. So reverse engineer, just log those things as people say yes and as people say no. Start to look at patterns and do that compare and contrast.
Okay. And as a follow-up question, I wonder when I'm trying to figure out what stands out or where they are finding the value in our all-inclusive service, we do everything possible to light up someone's life, literally. And there's so much that I'm putting into the offer and trying to explain to people. And I kind of honestly have no idea what sticks. I don't know what is the thing that's sticking out. So do you have any recommendations of, should I just ask them what it was about our service that made them hire us, or kind of infer?
Always ask. Your customers are going to be your best guide in terms of what they like about your service, what they'd like to see next from you. So asking the question about, we are so happy that you decided to work with us this year. What made you say yes? We'd like to always improve the quality of our service and our offering. What else would you like to see us do? We want to make this better for you next year. So asking is always a great thing.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Lindsay.
All right. Thanks, 10X, everybody.
Yeah. Let's go next to Sean. Sean's Cabinetry.
Hey, thanks for allowing me to ask a question. Your name's Jeff, right?
My name is Sean.
Is it really?
It is. Spelled the same way too, Sean.
Awesome. Hey, that's great. Yeah. So one of the things we're doing in our company right now is planning the finance and the growth, right, of what are the next 10 years going to look like. And we're trying to go 10X. Last 2 years, we've done 50% growth, 55-ish% growth year over year. We'll do 2.3 million this year. And so we're trying to, do some math on how to predict how fast we can scale the business with the company's cash that we're generating. So, I recognize there's some levers that we can pull, but what does that formula look like? Like, how can you start? Because I know you guys do it. I've heard you guys talk about it. How do you guys formulate that?
Yeah. So first of all, congratulations on that rapid growth. I love hearing that. It's a great question. We talk a lot about revenue per employee. We prefer to see 250,000 in revenue per employee or greater. So think about that as a metric and again, you can reverse engineer that based on your annual sales revenue and the number of employees you have. So think about if you're in the right range. If you were to do the math now, Sean, are you in that range now? Are you below? Are you above? Where do you fall? 2.5 million?
Yeah. So we've got right now, we started the year with, it was like 8 employees, and we'll end here with about 12, 13. So we're close. We're on the lower end of that 250. Probably we're targeting 3. Our goal is 300,000. So we do custom cabinetry, and we make a lot of the products. So 3 is tricky, but it's a good goal. I think 3 is doable. 500, yeah, sky's the limit, right? But
well, I like where your head is. You're at just over $208,000 per employee, which is great. I think in your particular industry, I like that. I think if you can stretch that before you add that 13th, 14th employee, see if you can stretch that to 250, maybe 3 or get close to 3, and that's going to be your indicator to add the next person.
Yeah. So that's the people side, but on the cash side of things, because we get down payments on jobs. So I know there's some formulas for how fast you convert cash, right? You can look at your how many days does it take to get paid, your aging AR. You can look at, how long can you extend your payables and without, being unreasonable. And so you can start really looking at that as math, like, okay, I can afford to grow at 37% or 57% year over year with where we're at today. But we can start to pull the levers like reducing AR, and accelerating cash to grow, which you have to, right? To hit the numbers you guys are hitting, you got to be collecting money and really have, 500,000 per head, right? You got to hit all those metrics to scale at exponentially, right? So I'm just wondering, how do you lay out that formula though? Like, as a company who doesn't have that metric in place, how do you set it up?
Yeah, Sean, it's a great question. This is something we tackle in our Finance Essentials workshop, and you would actually get some of this from the Business Bootcamp event that's coming up as well. So make sure you go in the chat, hit that link, and join us for that event. And then we can go deeper with you individually if you want to take a real deep dive on your business. So thanks for the question. Let's go next to Dr. Ron Moore.
All right. Hey, welcome. Glad to be here. Good questions. This is my first time actually attending. So
welcome.
I'm glad to be here. There's some jargon that I'm not quite familiar with yet, but still glad to be here. Hey, I'm a retired veteran, right? I've been in business since 2011. We're in the information technology, cybersecurity field, do a lot of risk stuff. I wanted to ask a couple of questions here. The first is do you know if this model is applicable in the federal space? And then as I'm listening, and again, this is my first time here, our contracts range anywhere from 1 to 4 years, right? On the most, for the most part. So I don't know how that would play out as far as in the federal space. It's very competitive. You know, we do a lot of proposal writing. So it's not just like, give me work. And then one of the restrictions here or negatives are the contractors that come on board. I do have a staff. You know, we did about $6 million to that last year, but we still lose quite a few contractors if we are not awarded that contract again. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, great question. First of all, thank you for your service to this country. We appreciate you very much. You're in a really interesting space. We actually work with a lot of cyber IT security companies at Cardone Ventures that have government contracts. This is not an unfamiliar space for us at all. It's a high growth space, in our opinion. It's something that we are actively organizing a number of businesses in a vertical there too. And we can tell you more about our partnership model down the road as we get to know each other a little bit better. But that's a space we have a lot of our attention on right now because it is so critical. The growth projections in that area, as you know, are very, very healthy, well into the future. So we love that space. The other part of your question, is this formula, this algorithm, these 4 M's applicable to that space? It absolutely is. As are the breakpoints that we talk about and all of our business methodology, it's applicable across every industry. And that's something that Brandon Dawson really discovered when he started doing this deep research first in 08, 09, and then later in 16, 17 to really validate that, spending millions of dollars with consulting firms to survey thousands of businesses and thousands of industries and started to look at patterns and commonalities. And the net result of that is we've really learned the differences in businesses are not industry specific. They are really breakpoint specific, where you are on these revenue ranges that we talk about in the breakpoints. So it's a great question. Love to connect with you more on this because again, that's a space we really like. So thank you for your question.
Please. If you could, can you give me a point of contact or the next steps in the chat? I would love that.
Yeah, Ron, put a note in the chat. We'll make sure we connect with you.
Great. Thank you so much. Of course.
Let's go next to Tyree. I'm sorry, we're actually going to go to Jackie first.
I was just going to say they're unmuting me. Sorry.
Thank you, Jackie.
Hi, Sean. Hey, so, well, here's where I'm at now. I'm ready to do my first acquisition. So I'm looking for some advice on, it would be in the next state over, doing the exact same thing. And I'm kind of just looking for some ideas or like first steps of where you go for that, you know?
Well, first, congratulations. That's very, very exciting. So same industry space, same business, just a different state? Okay.
Correct.
So for everyone's benefit on the call today, this is what we would call a connected activity. It is the same business. Jackie knows her space. She's simply moving into an expanded geography if she does this acquisition. So we talk about connected, disconnected. This is an example of something that we would feel is connected. So where are you in the process, Jackie? Are you in the early due diligence phase of it? Do you have a negotiated deal nearly complete? Where are you on the cycle?
Brand new. I just finished scaling my entire organization on the inside, followed all the Cardone Ventures systems, put everybody in place, got all my people in place. And now I'm headed over to, now that's the next step. I have enough, the financially we're very sound. And then now people are done. So now I'm moving. Now it's my job to go grow it that way.
Okay.
So I'm green.
The acquisition is something you want to do. It has not closed yet.
Correct.
Okay. So a couple of ideas there. Run a really great due diligence process. And that is a comprehensive process. If any of you have been through that, you know what this entails. If you haven't yet, this is part of the reason why we created 10X Buy Sell, is to provide advisory services to our customers if they want our assistance in vetting potential opportunities. So this would be buy-side advisory, Jackie. 10xbuysell.com is our resource there. We can connect you with our teams that lead that part of our business for us. So that's a resource-rich component here to Cardone Ventures that I would encourage you to lean into. And we can talk offline about what that would entail and how that would help you in this process. But broadly speaking, doing a very consistent due diligence process, because this will be one acquisition this year, you may want to do 2 or 3 next year and in the years to come. So having a good team around you, again, we would love to participate in that with you. We have a lot of expertise on our team here to support that activity and a robust team of advisors outside of that, legal, finance, to help you assess the opportunity, risks around that business, and then there's going to be the financial component of negotiating that deal. and then bringing it to a conclusion. There's a number of different ways to fund that. That's one of the really skills that Brandon has mastered, is how to negotiate deals and various forms of financing on acquisitions. So great question, Jackie.
All right, thank you.
We're going to go next to Lucky. Can we ask the team to unmute Lucky?
Hi, nice to meet you. So
good to see you.
Yeah. I have a question about KPI stats. So just real quick, I have a acupuncture clinic, and I have myself, which is the practitioner owner, and then I have my 3 administrative staffs. So I'm looking to scale. So I am getting each KPI units marked down. So how long does it take for you to clean up a room? How long does it take for you to do an exam, so on and so forth. But I'm getting an issue where I'm keeping my staff at below $250,000 per head, but I'm having a hard time doing the actual tracking of the KPI. So for instance, let's say we work together, and then you have 10 different units of measurement about how you perform in your job. So then I do a monthly review, but then let's say if you're late for work or you slipped up today, who is it to mark you? So how do you realistically implement? And then also, how do you reward and how do you punish for non-satisfactory KPI stat, quota?
Yeah, so Lucky, great question. First, I want to commend you on implementing a process like that in your business. That's part of, if you think about tonight's topic, that's mastering one part of your business in this area. That's going to help propel you as you try to scale what you're doing and multiply that through people. So again, congratulations on putting that in place. Who should be responsible for it? Typically, it's going to be the department manager, whoever those employees roll up to ensure compliance with those KPIs. So I'd have to know more about your organization, how it's structured, who leads that department. Those are things that we teach our businesses as they go through our various workshops and programs. But again, great question, and you're on the right track in terms of putting that process in place in your business.
So just a quick follow-up question. I've actually been to People's, I went to finance, and I went to 10X 360. I guess I'm just wanting some, tricks or tips you guys have. So do you use a software? So if you're late for work today, I have to remember that you were late, right? So then as we get busy, then, at the 14 days later, I'll do a performance review. Then it's kind of how do you keep track of that?
Yeah, so every business is going to use a different set of systems. You can do this through Google and through some of their technology platforms. That's the simplest way to do it. We have tools like CEO that we use as well. So there are a number of different business applications, technology applications you can use. So I would encourage you to connect with us offline if you're interested in learning more about what we do and what may be applicable for your industry and your business.
Gotcha. Just one last question. So let's say if a person that's setting up KPI is really high, what would be the standard raise? So if you make 100,000, let's say if you hit all your KPIs, your A, would that be like a 20% boost, or would that be what would be typically that versus the lower end, right?
Yeah, Lucky, I think in that question, particularly having some industry and competitor knowledge is really important too. You want to know, what do you want to be positioned as a business relative to your competition in your marketplace? Do you want to be seen as the employer of choice, the top payer in that space? Do you want to be somewhere in the middle? Do you want to be the company that has a really lean operation and you're not going to overcompensate employees relative to your peers? So I would start first with knowing where you are relative to your peer group. And then where you set those marks is really dependent on a number of factors, including the financial health and success of the business and what you see on the horizon in 2023. Okay, so those are all elements you'd have to take in. Giving you a preset answer of 10% would be doing it a disservice. You have to bring in more elements to that to really create a unique sort of profile and answer for your own business. And I think lead with the question of who do I want to be known as? If you think about the environment where it's tough to find and retain great people,
right? Who
do I want to be as an employer, and how do I want the marketplace to see me from a compensation standpoint?
Gotcha. And then also from KPI, let's say if I have 10 KPIs total, you did 9, but you can't do this one. For some reason, you always can't do this one. Is it kind of like you have 9 good deeds or 3 for 1 bad deeds? How does that usually work in your organization?
That's something that's done through performance reviews, and it's just working with that individual to see if there's areas of opportunity for growth, and is there a need to reframe that particular component where that employee is struggling. It could be a communication issue. It could be, look, and this is an opportunity to look at it from a leader perspective of what do I need to convey to that employee on that particular element so they can execute this at their full capacity. They may not have a full understanding of the need in that area, how to execute it correctly, what success looks like. So start with that perspective first, and then start to frame what is expected once you both have a mutual understanding of this is what's important to do, this is how you do it, this is what success looks like, and then you measure against that.
Gotcha. Thank you for answering all my questions.
Thank you, Lucky. Appreciate it. And why don't we go next to Ann? Ann, thank you for your patience.
Okay, am I unmuted?
You are.
Okay, I have a question, and it's related to something that Grant said in one of his videos. I've had maybe about 12 prospects since the beginning of September, and none of them, not one of them is closed. I still have some that are active, right? But nobody's closed. And he mentioned that it'd be helpful to get someone to call and say, kind of, why did you not end up doing business with so-and-so? Sometimes when you do that, apparently you find out they never did make any decision. I'm wondering if there's anybody on your team that does those calls in exchange for a percentage if the business closes.
So why don't you, it's a great question, Ann. Why don't you connect with us offline, put your information in the chat. We'll make sure that we connect with you on that topic. I do want to use this question though, for the benefit of the group here. Grant talks about the need to follow up, and the stats are really remarkable on this in terms of getting people to convert on sales. It is going to take 8 to 12 plus touches before that buyer becomes aware of what you're offering to them is in a position to move forward in a qualified way. So the 10X rule as a book was all about this concept of it takes 10X the amount of effort that you think is necessary to move the ball forward with opportunities. And that is just a great question, and it's a great reminder to everybody that it takes more touch points than you realize to get that buyer's attention and to get them to convert.
Now, I have followed up already intensively with these people. Like for me, I'm going to stipulate that intensively for me compared to what I normally do. So my fantasy, I suppose, or delusion is just going to take 1 or 2 calls. But am I like way barking up the wrong tree?
So, and I'll tell you from our company experience and how we do things, my own personal experience from past environments, it just takes a lot more touches, and it takes different types of outreaches. It could be phone, it could be text, it could be video message. There are all kinds of creative ways to connect with that potential buyer. And instead of framing that as a negative, think about it as a positive. You just have to be creative. And Grant talks about this a lot, that when you feel like you lack creativity, it's because you are not anchored to the ultimate goal and outcome that you want. So as you write your goals down every day, think about what you want to achieve that day, what you want with that individual prospect, and then think about how can I achieve that? You will unlock your creativity and think about different ways to connect with them.
And
It's
I guess
amazing.
because these were all inbound calls, I didn't call them. They got in touch with me, and we've had 1 or more Zoom calls and proposals and the whole works. I guess my fantasy is it should be a lot easier.
It would be great if that was the case, Ann, right? And I think everybody on this call would agree, but that sometimes it's just not the case. And it just means to be relentless in the pursuit of what you want to achieve, keep your goals front of mind, and you're going to serve customers that will help you achieve that. So that will unlock your creativity. And don't underestimate the power of a text message, a 10-second video message to that buyer that has not moved forward yet. You don't know what circumstances are going on around them. You just need to continue to stay focused on your goal. Achieving that, you're going to achieve your goal through those customers who are engaging with you. So stick with it and stay committed to your goals. And I'd love to follow your progress and pay attention to us online too. You'll see some of the things that we do on social media. Use that as a way, again, mimic what works. We do a lot of that, and we do different types of video, different types of content on social. You'll see all of that deployed by our company. Thank you for the question. And please raise your hand if you have more questions. And please have your camera on. We'd love to see you as you ask questions. Any more questions from the group tonight? If we can, I want to put up the boot camp slide again. Just want to talk about that one more time. This is something we are very excited about. It's our first ever West Coast Business Boot Camp. This is coming up in November, Scottsdale, Arizona. You're going to be in the room with Brandon Dawson, Grant Cardone. You're going to learn all of the tools that have helped propel their organizations to the level of success that they have achieved, and to be around people who have operated at a very, very high level. This is something I want all of you to take advantage of. Click the link in the chat, hit the QR code. Make sure you grab your ticket. These are going quickly. We have executive tickets for $497, VIP tickets for $1997. I want all of you to take advantage of this. I want to go back quickly for another question. Michael, thank you for raising your hand. Let's get you unmuted.
Hey guys, what's going on? So my quick question is regarding the three-part hiring process there, and was just wondering how far out do you guys space the 3 interviews? Do you do them all in the same week, or do you do them like how? I guess that's my question.
So how far in advance do we do them? How frequently do we interview?
No, like so the 3-part interviews. So how far do you space out the part? You know, the behavioral, the skills interview, and then the core values interview. Like, are they consecutive days? Like you come in Monday for your, behavioral interview to make sure everybody fits. Then we have them come back the next day for the skills interview. And so that's kind of my question.
Yeah, great question. They are spaced out. We want to see that candidate perform in those different environments with those different topics. And then just one broad note on that too is always be interviewing. To propel the growth of a business, you need great people. You need to multiply your business through people. So always be interviewing, and do that ahead of your actual needs. It is always healthy to maintain a pipeline of great people. So thank you for the question, Michael. I see our friend Mike Ryan there. Mike, good to see you. Let's get you unmuted.
Good evening, Sean. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you? Call back, and I'll talk to you about that later. So, question for you. You and I have had that conversation, and you elaborated a little bit on it tonight about the unique opportunities that are being presented by what's happening in the economy right now, availability of capital, cost of capital, and all. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on what that means for us as business owners and the opportunities that we should be able to get out of that?
I will, Mike. Thank you for the question. It's great to see you last week too, and appreciate you chiming in tonight.
Appreciate our relationship, by the way.
Absolutely. No, I do too. Mike's a great example for those of you who haven't met him of someone who has really gone all in on learning from the 10X community and working with us, and his growth with his platform is an example of what can be achieved, and the future is incredibly bright for him. Let me talk about his question specifically and the increased cost of capital, what I think it's going to mean for businesses, and more importantly, the opportunity for all of you. As companies grow, you've got a couple ways to do that. You have organic revenue growth, which is the preferred method for every business. If you can go out with your people, interview, hire strategically, align them with the vision and mission of the business, achieve growth by selling more products, services to customers, that is preferred. It can be a slower way to grow, and the mergers and acquisitions, M&A side of things has become a fast track to creating scale in a business. Now that's great in an interest rate environment where debt is inexpensive and you can aggregate companies and bolt them onto whatever your core business is. They're accretive to your top line revenue and bottom line profits. And that's the environment that we are coming out of. What happens when the interest rate environment flips and it is very unfriendly to acquisition activity because the cost of capital is so high? M&A teams, I talked to 6 of my friends last week who run large businesses, and these are $50 million and above, that all have M&A teams. Some of them have one person in M&A, one team has 22 people. Their sole job is to focus on looking for acquisition targets. And we're not talking about big acquisitions here, just for everybody's information. These are teams that are focused on businesses that might do $1 million in EBITDA. So they're not big acquisitions, but they're meaningful to companies because they can create top line revenue growth. And sometimes that's in addition to organic growth. In some years, a business might struggle to produce any organic growth, but they show a net gain because of the M&A activity. Now imagine those 6 people I talked to told me to a person, they have all either ceased or have significantly pulled back on their M&A operations, which tells me that because they can't borrow at low interest rates, it is proving to be very, very expensive to acquire something right now. There has to be a very good strategic reason or an opportunistic play where a company might be in distress. There are valuable assets, people, technologies that they can bolt in. If they can buy it at the right price, it makes sense. So Mike, back to your point, what is the opportunity here for everybody? I think given that's the macro environment, all of you that can produce organic revenue, again, selling more products and services to more customers using your own people, your own sales force, you can lean into this marketplace when some of the larger competitors might be in a place where their M&A activity is stalled. They don't see a path easily to organic revenue growth because they haven't relied on that in the last couple of years. They may have been heavily reliant on M&A activity. So it's a great question, Mike. I appreciate you asking it. And I think it's a great opportunity for all of you to lean into this environment in a way that maybe you haven't thought about because there's going to be opportunity everywhere. Great questions tonight.
Hi, Sean. Boot Boss
Holly, how are
Holly
you?
here.
Great
They
to
were
see you.
fast. I'll be quick, so 3 minutes. It's so
Yeah.
good. Thank you for having me. Can we continue that conversation? So in the lower EBITDA space, there's a lot of independent owners out there. And what we're seeing in our local industry as compared to Boot Barn, I own the Boot Life in Mansfield, Ohio. I'm sorry if you guys don't know me. And so we make lives better one boot at a time. And a Boot Barn, which is a publicly traded company, we were looking at their public records, and they're only growing because of opening new stores. They're actually negative in year over year, which I found interesting in our current market. And so there's all of these mom and pops who we have this great community of 10X, and it's a hard market out there for some of us right now. And so I see stabilization, organic growth, and then what would you have to say about being aware of those companies that maybe are in distress or they're just tired? They're tired after 3 years of fighting. And what would a structure look like where you didn't go, where it was self-financed or something of will come in and take upside? What would something like that look like?
Yeah, it's great to see you as always, Holly, and a great question, a very smart question. So I want to take the first part of that. There will be a lot of distress, a lot of people who are tired because they didn't plan for this environment. They didn't want it, right? They might be a business owner that's near retirement age, doesn't want to go through another cycle. Don't forget the battle scars that a lot of business owners have from 08, 09 and living through that environment. And they persevered. They had a really good run, most businesses, the last several years in a good environment, and then everything changed. There will be a lot of people who are ready to say, I'm not prepared to go another cycle. I don't have another 5 years to get through the other side of this. So all of you who see those opportunities in your marketplace, pay attention to those. Holly, as we've talked about before, there are so many different ways to finance those kinds of opportunities, or you could simply step in and maybe assume ownership of that business. Sellers could finance it. There's a way to get them out of the cycle and give them freedom from that, and you get the opportunity that you want. So there's always a way to make that a win-win scenario and to grow in what I think could be a contractionary environment. So great question.
Thank you.
Let's go next. Good to see you. Let's go next to Brent. And this will be the last question tonight.
Hey, thanks. This is my first Owners Live, so it's great information.
Welcome.
We have, I guess, restaurants and a pharmacy in a small town here in Wisconsin. And I just wanted to know kind of off the top, what's the three, I guess, best platforms to just reach out into local markets to find employees?
So there's a number of platforms. Indeed is one that jumps to mind very quickly. I think you as the business owner have an opportunity to do it organically too, by social media. If you're not on social, consider using that as a tool. LinkedIn to a lesser extent might be productive for you too, but don't underestimate the power of your own ability to tell your story on platforms like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and attract people that connect with your brand and your vision.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for the questions tonight. This was a really fun show. A lot of great questions. I hope all of you got value out of this. Again, if you haven't done so already, click the QR code. Make sure you join us in Scottsdale in November for the Business Bootcamp. We want to see you there in person. This is going to be your opportunity to learn from Brandon, from Grant, and pick up all of these skills that you need to 10x your success heading into 2023.
This is 10X Owners Live.
Advantage.